Strike up the band.
Strike up the band.
The Dodger Symphony was as much a part of Brooklyn as the old trolley cars used to be a part of Brooklyn, as Coney Island is part of Brooklyn. Brooklyn was baseball, and baseball was the Dodgers. The Symphony was a very important part of the mystique of Ebbets Field, the mystique of the Dodgers, and the allure of the Dodgers.
The Brooklyn Dodgers were not a ball club. The Brooklyn Dodgers were a religion. And these fellows were the choir.
The Dodger fans were rabid and ready, and part of it was this band that always showed up in the stands and made a lot of noise. Gladys Gooding, the organist, was always playing an appropriate song, but these guys interacted with the opposition more.
All of them were great fans, and they knew the game of baseball exceptionally well, and they handled their music according to how the game was going.
How could anyone forget the Brooklyn Symphony? It's a most memorable thing for me. You know, the short time that I was playing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, to hear them in the stands, they brought a lot of people joy, a lot of laughter. A lot of people were brought together by them.
In Brooklyn, as elsewhere, the language of love is music.
I remember some guys making an out. In the Dodger Symphony Band, I'd say to Clem Labine or Ralph Branca or another player and say, why are they playing that music where this guy made an out and they would thump, 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 thump.
Ba-rum-pa-bum, ba-rum-pa-bum, in time with his step. And then when he'd go to take a drink, they'd play How Dry I Am. How dry I am. And then when the guy goes to sit down, they would say, whoop. And some guys would deliberately not sit down so they wouldn't do it. And we thought that was funny.
You probably heard the story that when a batter would make an out, he'd turn from first and head back past the Dodger dugout, heading toward the visiting dugout on the third base side. And the band would begin to pick up his stride and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they'd follow him all the way into the dugout. Well, you could tell that these guys listened because when they would sit down, boom, they go to the bass drum. So guys wouldn't sit down.
We'd try to fool them. We wouldn't sit down. We'd hesitate, but they always stayed with us. They kept drumming us until we finally sat down.
Maybe 2 innings or something would go by, and this guy began people faking him out. Whenever he sat down, they never missed.
Now to have to play the symphony guys, you know, that was just an added annoyance, really.
My favorite song was always Taking My Place in Ebbets Field when they take out the pitcher and it went like this.
Somebody else is taking my place.
Years ago we used to play the Three Blind Mice for the umpires.
Three blind mice.
Then we had to stop because they didn't like it.
I don't know how good of musicians they were, but there was plenty of sound and plenty of rhythm, and always somebody picked the right tune.
I knew I was sitting there listening to them. I knew I wasn't in Carnegie Hall.
We used to play a lot of marches at the ball game. Because that's the only thing we knew. We couldn't know anything else. That's all. And we used to serenade the people. My favorite number of the Dodger Symphony Band was Anchors Away, because it makes more noise and it's more popular. We had a fellow that played trombone, but he played 2 notes. He didn't take a lesson. Nobody took lessons in the band. We played by ear.
These are the little megaphones that Shorty had in the Section 8 crowd there.
We gave them to some of the fans that they would yell, "All right, Cookie, come on, Cookie, let's get a hit, come on there, boy, let's go, let's do it for Shorty and the band."
I used to dance with Shorty Reese in the band. What turned around was to dance in the aisles. And we used to have a lot of fun, laugh and cry and this and that.
They would even dance with some of the people in the stands, just for a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, they would twirl around and do things. It was strictly an entertaining kind of thing. It was just to entertain the fans. They would start down in the right field corner or down around first base, and they would work it around.
They were rovers. They roved all over the place. They'd be in the outfield, not in the outfield grass, of course, but in the stands. They were always in the stands. They might have been outside at the dugout every once in a while before the game started. But they had more fun than we did, I think. In fact, I'm almost sure they did.
You went out on the field to win because you were competitive and you played baseball. But they were amusing to us.
Hey, I grew up in Brooklyn. And I was a kid. I went to Ebbets Field. I saw the Dodgers play for years before I joined them. So I knew all about that band.
The band used to be dressed up. Fully Valley was dressed up as a prison. Jerry Martin had a mop on, and he looked comical. I was dressed up as a girl with a wig. When I put the cigar in my mouth, they said, "This guy ain't a girl. This guy's a man." And then Brother Lou used to dress up as a hobo. Patty Palmer, the late Patty Palmer, used to dress up as a hobo also. The fans were just as nutty as us. They were just as nutty as the band.
I hated getting off the train. I used to take a train and get off about 2-3 blocks from Ebbets Field. And that walk from the train to the clubhouse was like walking the gauntlet. And I was always glad to get in the locker room. The fans they'd give you the business, you bum you, you're going to strike out again today. And they were having fun, and it was all part of the game.
I can remember one time when a hurricane had hit New York, and we were playing Milwaukee, and it was the last trip they were going to make into Ebbets Field, so you had to get that game in. I mean, it rained and rained. They held up the game, it must have been for 5 hours. And when they finally played it, I don't think one fan left that ballpark.
The fans were loyal. We followed the Dodgers when they lost. We followed them when they won, and we never gave up on them. Wait till next year.
The Brooklyn Dodgers are pitching in to avoid another debacle like happened last year.
We had the same team for quite a few years, and the fans associated themselves with that team and the players that were on that team.
Even when they were coming in last place, they were called the bums, and they would still root for them.
Brooklyn says, "Come on, you bums."
It's just, I think it's pride in the neighborhood or the community. That's what set Brooklyn aside from other ballparks.
The Brooklyn Dodgers was the only team that represented a borough. All of the other teams represented cities.
What's Brooklyn got that no other city's got?
What's Brooklyn got? The Dodgers. Hey, did you see what happened yesterday?
The Dodgers were the only team in baseball of that era to have an interactive fan situation where you had people in the stands reacting with the fans, the players, and what was happening. The Symphony, I think, was kind of like a cherry on top of an ice cream sundae.
We were entertained the whole time. It was the best $2 you could spend to go to a ball game and get that kind of entertainment.
They were neighborhood guys that played together, and I bet they didn't get paid anything for doing it. And I bet they probably all had jobs. These guys were hard-working, blue-collar, hard-going guys, and so were the Dodger teams of that era.
Shorty was working for the BMT. He was a track welder for the trolley cars. And how many times he told the guy to cover him on the trolley car tracks, and he'd go to Ebbets Field and watch the ball game.
Fully Valley. He used to work for a metal dealer. Patty was in the beer business. I was in a grocery clique. Brother Lou worked in the Army base. Jerry Mott was a truck driver. I was a kid then, getting $2 a week. That was 1935, 36, 37, Depression days. When I went in a store and they won the pennant, I gave them each and everybody a salami. Cost me $48. That time salami was cheap. Each and every one. I was with Wee Reese. I was with Ferrello. I was with Don Newcomb. They were all in a dressing room. And I brought a big box like that. They told what the hell it was in the box. They said, where you going with that box? I'm going to the dressing room. I got to give it to Ferrello and everybody. Sure. And Pee Wee said, geez, that salami tastes good. You see what happened? Everybody at Bebersfield became a star.
They had some characters, I'll quote say characters, that went to the games. And this group of guys was another set of characters. They had Hilda Chester, an older woman who used to sit in the bleachers till he got television. Then she sat in the grandstand and announced that Hilda was here and had a cowbell. They had a guy named Jack Pierce who used to blow up balloons, and he was a Cookie Lavagetto fan, and they'd go, cookie, cookie, cookie. And another guy named Eddie Battani wore one of those pith helmets, and he went, toot, 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 toot. And then, of course, we had the Symphony, which was part of the game.
They're part of a national phenomenon, an entire city population whose spirits rise or fall with Dodger fortune. Here's a vital part of the team and the town, famous Red Barber with Connie Desmond.
Kevin Higbee, the strong-arm right-hander, is DeRoche's choice this afternoon in another one of these tough tussles in baseball's bitterest rivalry, the New York Giants over at Ebbets Field.
1939, I believe, something like that. Red Barber gave the name the Dodger Symphony Band because they couldn't read music or nothing.
When this first started, the band started with the regular old-timers, elderly people, a few years older than myself.
Brother Lou Seriana was the organizer of the band. We went one day on a picnic with our family, and it started to rain. So in the meantime, I said to Brother Lou, let's take a ride and we'll go to Ebbets Field.
Now how we got into Ebbets Field, that was another disaster, that detail. He had all the stuff in the car, in the front of his car, and I says, how are we going to get the instruments in with it? He says, don't worry, I got an idea. We get to the ballpark, he says, look, here's what I want you to do.
The few that had the instruments went over towards the pay their way, and the ticket taker wouldn't accept them. They said they can't come in with the instruments.
So we went over there, and the fellow said, you can't go in. I said, I can't go in. I said, why, you own Ebbets Field?
One of them had a twine or a rope, and he said, you know, we'll get in one way or the other. I'll go up the ramp, and when I get up to the first ramp there, I'll drop a twine or a rope down, and you'll tie the instrument one at a time, and we'll bring it up.
So that day, we walked around, and everybody was clapping for us and all. And, geez, we had a good time. So the following year, we had a couple of friends of ours that sat in Section 8, where all the nuts hung out. So in the meantime, we got introduced to a friend of ours, Johhny Reese. He joined our band, and he didn't know how to play an instrument, and he used to have a hi-hat, and he used to whistle. So in the meantime, he had his brother Joey used to take pictures.
See, these are the pictures I took, see? Now, see over here is Andy Pafko, and there's little JoJo, and there's Preacher Rowe. And that's my brother Mike. They gave Shorty Reese a day in Ebbets Field in August of 1948. November, on Thanksgiving Day, he died. Before he died, he was with Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella. They came to the hospital to see him. They remembered him as the Dodger Symphony leader.
Well, there was a hall here in Vermonte. People used to get married. We used to play in the corner there, and we used to practice. Then they used to kick us out because we used to make too much noise with the people. This kid here, he is original today. He's the original, like me. Because when he came, he was about 12, 13 years old. And Brother Lou, every time I couldn't make it in the grocery store, Almond used to come.
When I got to the age, and I told Pop I want to play on a band now. I think I'm old enough to play it. He says, okay, I'll go see what I could do. I says, so I'll play the cymbals or the bass, whatever. I can play either one. But I wasn't too great on that waltzes. I was very bad, and he used to try to teach me that 1, 2, 3, hit, 1, 2, 3, and I made a few mistakes. He would get the stick and hit you right on the head. I played about close to 10 years with the band. I played close to that. I've seen a lot of interesting games. I seen the World Series.
I was like an apprentice over there, and whenever someone didn't show up, I would fill in. And naturally, one at a time, they started to pass away, the old timers, and then from an apprentice, I improved a bit. I got promoted to playing the cymbals. Then after the cymbals, JoJo was tired of playing the drum. I wound up playing the drum.
I started broadcasting in 1939. We talked about the Dodger Symphony, where they were, what they were playing. Some of the, as a matter of fact, Red Barber did that regularly, and of course, he was the great Dodger broadcaster.
Right-hander wears number 13. Comes down on the outside for ball 1. Kirby, ready to go, 1 and 2. Delivers, and it's swung on and missed for strike 3, and it's another K in the scorebook.
I could walk the streets of Brooklyn during the baseball season without a radio, virtually at any time during a game, and not miss a beat of the ball game.
When they had TV, I called in sick at the post office, and I was in the dugout talking to Roy Campanella. At that time, Happy Felton's Talk to the Stars.
Let's take a look at the gang from St. Bernadette's. Hiya, boys!
The Knothole Gang. He was coming into the dugout with one of the kids to get autographs, and the camera, it picked me up. Because when I went to work the next day, I got called up to the front office, and I was told, you were clearly seen on television. He said, you know it? You were sitting in the dugout next to Roy Campanella? And I went, holy mackerel. He says, well, you're lucky we're all Dodger fans.
It was the advent of television. It was a time, I think it was especially made for them, because now they did have a little bit of TV, and that was exposure too, so people got to know them even better. And I think that made them in the long run. That and the fact that they were taken to heart, not just by the fans, but by the players themselves, because they were our band. They weren't anybody else's.
To prove it, you alone I care for.
When I had the band playing in Ebbets Field, Petrillo, the musician union, happened to spot this fellow in the band that was a union member. They were not getting paid for their services, see? And Walter O'Malley said, no, I'm not paying them. And Petrillo wanted them thrown out of Ebbets Field. So Walter O'Malley, he had a musical de-appreciation night.
Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, USA has seen just about everything, but Music Appreciation Night is definitely a first.
Anybody with a musical instrument could come into the ballpark free. And so the whole ballpark was practically full with non-union people, and Walter O'Malley won.
That was another great time I had. That time when they let all the fans in that had an instrument, that O'Malley let them in the ballpark. I never forget that day either.
The din during that time was so horrible, I can't tell you, because not too many people could play an instrument, but they could blow it. And drums, they had drums all over the place. But it was, it's what made it a family ballpark at that time.
Let me tell you a little story about this thing here. I mean, like I said, we really worked for this here plaque, which I love it. Yeah, we got this at the Appreciation Day, that 1951 in Ebbets Field, we got it. Like I said, I was on the field and it was great.
Out of the subway into the Polo Grounds pour fans by the thousands for the sudden death game in the playoff between the faltering Dodgers and the stretch-running Giants.
When it came to the end of the year in that 51 in October, I never forget that day. And that day, when Bobby Thomson hit the home run, that hurt. That really hurt. I know just how the other ball players felt.
For me to get up to bat and hit a home run like that, it was the last thing I expected to do, and I'm sure last thing anybody expected me to do.
With one blast of his bat, Bobby Thomson, the Flying Scot, brings the pennant race to a swift, stunning close. A 3-run homer wins it 5-4, and the Giants are in.
So it happened, so it was a thrill of a lifetime. I've never experienced excitement like I experienced running around the bases.
You see the crying towel here? The crying towel was given to me when I was working in the post office by Giant fans. And in turn, I used it against the New York Yankees whenever we played them in the World Series. In 1955, the last time the crying towel was used against the New York Yankees. We did it, and we won our first and only World Series, and too bad my brother Shorty never lived to see that day.
63,000 fans were in Yankee Stadium for the sudden death 7th game, with the Dodgers getting going in the 4th inning.
I hated the Yankees because we lost 4 times to them. That's why we hated them. But when it came 1955, when the Dodgers beat them for the World Series, oh boy, everything was peaches and cream.
And it's all over but the shouting and the tumult. The Dodgers win it 2-0 and win their first World Series.
That was the thrill of all our careers, to finally win a pennant, because we were always the bridesmaid and never the bride, and finally we won a World's Championship, and it was the biggest thrill of my baseball career.
The streets were just jammed, thousands and thousands of people, and you kept going out to take a bow, go back in, get a drink, and go back out and take another bow. So it was just a great time.
When they left Brooklyn, they left class behind them. There will never, ever be another team like the Brooklyn Dodgers. There'll never, ever be another group like this symphony band right here.
The Brooklyn Dodgers are as much a part of American history and folklore as Paul Bunyan, as Davy Crockett, and that includes the Dodger Symphony for sure.
D-Day at Old Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. D-Day, they demolished the ballpark for a big housing project to replace the 47-year-old diamond, where the Brooklyn Dodgers, since gone Los Angeles way, made history as dem bums. The book of memory opens for Flatbush faithful, Zach Wheat and Lefty O'Doul, Pete Reeser, Dixie Walker, Jackie Robinson, Carl Perillo, Wee Reese, Duke Snider, Gil Hodges, and who'll ever forget the Dodger Symphony?
And when they were tearing it down, we sat in lower stands. I started to cry because I still love them. And I don't care where they move and where they don't move. I'm a real die-hard Dodger booter.
It's fun to watch them and see how much fun they had participating at the ballpark and rooting us on. I'd like to thank them for that.
It's very nostalgic, there's no doubt of that, and I certainly would agree with it. And I'm sure that they've helped to make us more than we really were. But it's nice to be more than we really were, to tell you the truth, and it's great to be remembered.
The reason was why we started playing all over again with the band, because we were known for about 50 years, and we didn't want the people, the fans, to forget us.
We went to Louisville, Kentucky to play. They had, the Daily News had the championship stickball plays from the Bronx. Wee Reese, when he heard that the Dodger Symphony Band was going to play in Louisville, Kentucky, he made it his business to come and greet us, and we embraced. He was glad to see the Dodger Symphony Band.
We might be getting old, but the music still goes on and on, no matter even if we're 90 or 95 years old.
Playing with the band is very funny. I mean, you're enjoying it. I mean, that's what's good about it.
And not only that, but playing with Jo Jo and Louie. These guys are the original guys from the Ebbets Field.
This is great to be here, and my nephews are just enjoying it. They have no idea who they are, but they just love the music and love the excitement of the old guys.
What makes us happy is when we go to play any place we go, we like to entertain people, And we hope that they enjoy us as much as we enjoy playing for them and amusing them. As long as we enjoy it, we do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abe Pagoda to the show.
They never played the same, and sometimes they come close to playing together, and sometimes they don't.
They remind me, if you want a little story, they remind me of, in a funny way, James Thurber. James Thurber was a writer and a cartoonist for the New Yorker, but he drew in a stylized way that was very amateurish. So he went to his boss, he said, I got to learn how to draw better. He says, so I'm going to go to art school, and his boss, Ross, I think, Harold, he says, if you ever learn how to draw, you're fired.
Oh man, we need more Brooklyn Symphony bands. We need more of that. We need more of the old stuff. Brings back the old stuff of Brooklyn. Brooklyn's made of the old Brooklyn Dodgers, James Brown, everything.
When Brother Lou was alive, he said, maybe someday this Dodger band will go to the Academy of Music in Brooklyn. I said, maybe someday we will hit that extra good note.
Carnegie Hall is better.
Say we got a little harmony now. We have a nice fella that plays a trombone out of this well.